The question for today is this: why? Why is knowing God's love for us so important to us? As we will see in Session 3 about the law, when you mix law into a gospel life, you cannot know God's love to the fullest extent. Feelings of guilt and condemnation will get in the way and make you doubt God's love for you because of things you do, and things you do not do. Also, Session 2 is about salvation. It's impossible to be totally assured of your salvation if you don't know God's absolute love for you. Faith is the first thing that God's love does for us. Paul says that our faith works by means of God's love for us. We all must have faith. Paul says in Hebrews that without faith it is impossible to please God. So what God does is that He gives us the means, and the method by which our faith works. It is by knowing His love for us. If we know God's love for us, this puts faith in our hearts to believe and live by everything else He says to us in His gospel. If we don't know His love for us, we tend to doubt everything else He says. Fear is also dealt with by God's love, and He takes away our fear when we truly know His love. If we are living in fear, or in guilt as we just saw, then we can't truly know God's love for us. But when we do know His love, fear becomes like a mirage, because of our trust in God. But we are told that God's love makes fear in our life evaporate. This doesn't mean that all thoughts of fear are extinguished. It just means that fear is not an overriding factor in our lives. Fear doesn't control us. Knowledge of gospel truth is what is also produced in us by God's love for us. We're talked about this before. If we know God's love, then we believe other parts of His gospel reality in our lives. If we don't know His love, then we tend to doubt other aspects of His gospel. Again, there are 9 of these aspects, and we are only dealing with the first one. There are 8 more to go. We must believe them all. As we saw earlier, Mary the mother of Jesus said, "Be it done unto me according to your word." This must be our attitude toward the gospel. But it all begins in love. We are told that darkness is past, and that we must live in the light of God's gospel truth. Surveys show that most people, which includes most Christians who say they are saved and born again, live in varying degrees of guilt and fear. They don't live in faith, which produces gospel light in their lives. Surveys show that fewer than 7% of Christians live in gospel faith as they should. Don't be one of them. Rise above this and live in the higher glories of the gospel of God. The gospel causes us to live in the power of God,